It Time for many years about how to support local business. We're going to talk about just local business and the impact of local business, because people ask me about investing and you know, they say, well, I don't have money to invest. And you get back down to, well, where do you spend your money? What do you do with your money? And we get into that whole subject. And one of the best investments you can make is in your local community and local. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit, and probably in a lot bit. I told Todd I didn't know what I was going to talk about. I'm going to talk about taxation of E and double E savings bonds. There's a few things there I want to talk about. That's the 100.5 station. Thank you. Todd's feverishly engineering while we're on the air. See, I'm glad you're doing that. I couldn't do that. We're going to talk about savings bonds, double E bonds. There is a taxation component to those, and they were actually, Emily, these were actually very popular. There was a time there, and I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but there was a time there when a lot of people were saving money in savings bonds. I mean, you can have whole conversations about the was it a good investment? Was it a bad investment? It was a safe investment, and it pays off. But there are some taxations issue. A lot of those bonds are now hitting their 30-year mark or coming up to it, and people are cashing those in. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to get back about Schedule E and Schedule C. What's the difference? When to use it, when not to use it. And I'm going to go ahead and throw Schedule F in there too, because we're going to talk about farming, we're going to talk about some other things, and we're going to talk about just a lot of things.
And why can you talk about taxes?
Because I'm an enrolled agent, Emily. That's why I can talk about taxes.
What is an enrolled agent?
An enrolled agent is a person enrolled. We didn't practice this, by the way. An enrolled agent is a person enrolled.
You usually say it.
With the well, I got going right away this morning because I had nothing to talk about. So we got going right away. But an enrolled agent is a person, and Emily is also an enrolled agent. How long has it been now? 1 month? Are we up to the 1 month point yet?
Yeah.
She just became an enrolled agent through, how do you become an enrolled agent? You take 3 really hard tests.
Yeah.
Very hard tests.
You pay a little money.
And you pay a little bit of money, but you have to take 3 very hard tests. Now, you had finished up your bachelor's, and then you finished up your master's, and then you went right into your test, which I've told people, I said, that is no small accomplishment. But it was, and that's really what I think helped you, because you just had that momentum going. Yeah. Because I know for me, I had gotten my bachelor's. I graduated from Limestone. You South Carolina people that are listening, I'm a Limestone grad, and I'm a double major, business administration and accounting, and my minor's in computer science, because that's the direction I thought I wanted to go in at one point in my life. I just wanted to sit in a back room with lots of monitors and do a lot of actuarial calculations. If you can believe that what? Back room or monitors? Oh, actuarial. Todd said that's a great word. I said, which one? Actuarial calculations. Oh, I really enjoy doing that. Actuarial calculations and algorithms for investments. Yeah. See, I came in here not knowing what I was going to talk about. We talk about, and we have talked about investing and things about investing, and the big buzz right now is that AI, artificial intelligence, is going to take over investing. That it's all done by algorithms and computers, and I laugh when I hear that, because there are people behind these algorithms. These programs don't write themselves, and they have been wrong so many times, and the calculations have been off so many times. No, there's always going to be humans involved. As a matter of fact, if anything, it's gotten us more involved. I guess because I've done it, I've been on that end of it, I see it. So, no, it's not. We're never going to just give $1 million to a computer and let it have at it. No, there are there's another great word, rote commands that the computer can do a lot faster and a lot more efficient than humans can do, but that's all. That's like saying Word was going to put typists out of business. No, it really didn't. It actually created a whole job market called data entry. We don't have a typist pool anymore. We have data entry. So I graduated from Limestone, double major and a minor, business administration, and I took about I took about a 4-year break before I took it was a little bit longer actually, about a 6-year break before I started studying again. So, and you realize how you got in a habit of studying, but you were right.
But you were hands-on, so that was...
I was hands-on, but what you learn in the real world, being on the phone with the IRS and all that, is not what they test you on.
No,
They
true.
test you on obscure tax law. That's why. And I actually found a mistake. Talk about being a tax person. I found a mistake in one of the publications. It was really was a minor mistake in the big scheme of the thing. There was a threshold, and the threshold for the certain activity was $10 million, and they had put $1 million. And I'm like, I don't think that's $10 million. I looked it up, and sure enough, it was. But then that's like, those kind of typographical errors happen. So I wasn't patting myself on the back too much, but I caught it, and I thought, I really enjoy this. I really enjoy doing it. So here we are. Now I have 2 EAs, so we can both talk taxes in the morning. What do you want to get into? Should we get into small business and discussing small business right away, or should we wait for the second?
Well, we need the whole 15 minutes.
We need a whole 15 minutes for that. Okay, so let's talk about what's happening in just the tax world. So November 15th is a big deadline. What's due this Tuesday?
March 15th.
Sorry, what did I say?
November.
Yeah,
In the
November.
wrong season.
I'm in the November 15th is another.
It is cold outside, but it's almost spring.
November 15th is another deadline. Thank you. I was actually thinking about extending and going to the
If you aren't ready by Tuesday, you need to extend.
Yeah, exactly. So I was already there. I was already at the extension. I was already telling people they better get in there before September 15th, October 15th, and November 15th to get those extensions, tax returns actually filed. But March 15th, which is this Tuesday, what is our deadline?
It is 1065 partnerships, 1120 S corporations.
That's right. So if you are a partnership, you have a partnership tax return, those are due March 15th. If you are an 1120 S corporation, and that includes those of you who decided to become an S corp last year, but you didn't get your paperwork in time, you can actually do it with the filing of your tax return. Now, S Corp Election simply means you're going to be a pass-through. And for a lot of businesses, becoming an S Corp is really a big tax saver. We just helped a man. We actually made him an S Corp last year, filed his first S Corp tax return this year. And again, this is his situation. It's specific to him and his business. I'm not saying these are going to be your results, but I saved him about $18,000 in taxes by becoming an S Corp, because you eliminate the entire self-employment component. He was a Schedule C sole proprietor of his business. He's a single owner, and he was a Schedule C for decades. But there becomes a point where you make so much money that you're going to save a lot of money becoming an S Corp. S as in Sam Corporation. You're still an LLC, okay? And he was actually an LLC when he was a Schedule C sole proprietor filer. An LLC is a legal entity. It is not a tax designation or a tax entity. Every year I say, people come in, and new clients will come in, and I'll say, what kind of tax return do you file?
File an LLC.
I file an LLC tax return. And I'm like, there is no such thing as an LLC tax return. Well, I've been doing it for years. No, you're either an S corporation, or you're a single member LLC that's filing it on your personal tax return, which is also called a disregarded
Entity.
disregarded entity. See, I'm training Emily as we go along. Right? This is a teaching program. You know who listens to me a lot? Who listens to this program? Listens to us, Emily? a lot of CPAs and a lot of EAs listen to this program. I know because I get phone calls
From all over the globe.
all over the country for sure. I had a phone call the other day or not the other day, it was yesterday or Thursday. I had a phone call and I knew because the question was like real specific. It was like, hi, I'm just calling to ask you a question. I know you're on the radio, and I'm just asking you on line 16. Nobody says that. On line 16 of Form 8553, if I did this, what would you put there? Oh, that's easy. You put this. He goes, okay, thank you, bye. I said, oh, another young CPA I'm training. It's just knowing these things. It's in the tax code. We're not doing anything different. You say, well, how could you save $18,000? No, we've seen people save a lot more just by having a hold of these tax laws that are there. It's not tax evasion, it's tax avoidance.
Legal tax avoidance strategies.
And it's in the tax code. It's actually in the tax code that you are actually encouraged to engage.
It's one of your taxpayer Bill of Rights.
Do you have the Taxpayer Bill of Rights with you?
I had it pulled up on my phone.
You had to yeah, I read it every now and then, and I...
The right to pay no more than the legal tax.
The right to pay, the right to pay no more than the legal tax. You have the right to representation. You have the right to, it's almost like your Miranda rights.
Yeah, pretty close.
Todd, let's go ahead. I know I'm a couple of minutes early here, 2 minutes early to be exact. Let's go ahead and take that first break, and we're going to come back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
This is Gilbert. I've made a career out of helping businesses. Something else that can help businesses is a good sign. Let me tell you about DS Signs and Graphics right here in Spindale. Whether it's outdoor signage, banners, printing, or promotional items, call Alex at 828-286-4900. And remember, a good sign is good business.
This is Kimberly. If you owe the IRS for prior years or you have unfiled tax returns, don't call those national toll-free numbers. Affordable, secure, and local help is available for you. Call Gilbert at 828-289-9300. Gilbert is an enrolled agent permitted to practice before the IRS. Taxation is his specialty. He knows the latest laws to help you with your problem. Avoid garnishments, levies, and liens. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert at 828-289-9300.
This is Gilbert. I want to tell you about Jesse James Railroad Express at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherford. It's a great place. Jesse's a good friend of mine, and I encourage you to stop by and support him. On Mondays, he's doing a 99-cent hot dog, mustard, chili, and onions. When you go, tell him Mr. Fabulous himself sent you.
WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. We should just have left the microphones on and not even taken a break. We talked about taxes through the whole break. We just kept talking. Why did we even take... Well, because we want to promote local businesses. Let's talk about local businesses right now. Actually, are you going to join us, Todd? I never did get the... Are you going to join us? Maybe? I'm
ready to go to work this morning.
We're actually, after the program, my staff and I, well, the ones that are here, we got some that went out of town, but the staff that's here, we're all going to go to Shelley's Bakery and Grocery. We're going to go have breakfast over there. Actually, Shelley was in Friday. And was it Friday? All the days are becoming like one this week. It was Friday. Shelley was in. We wrapped up her tax return, and she invited us to come over for breakfast. So I said, well, let's just take everybody over there. But here's an example of a small business that really started with nothing. Literally started a small grocery store, actually across the street from where she's at now, in a little building. And I remember the first time I went over there, they said there's a new Latin grocery store, and I went over there to get some things that I like. Being Cuban, there are some things that I like to cook, and I went because that you can't get just anywhere. And I went over there, and sure enough, she had everything I was looking for. And I thought, Lord, help this lady, help this lady to make it, because she looked like, she literally talked about starting a business on a shoestring, and it was her and her husband and her daughter. And they were there, and they were working around the clock. And I went in there, and she had a broom in her hand, and she was cleaning up. And today, now she's across the street. She's across the street, and she moved into what used to be the Medical Arts Building. Totally remodeled it, put in a beautiful kitchen, and now she's doing breakfast and lunch there. And I've been there for lunch, but I have not been there for breakfast. So Christy was all about it, being the breakfast person that Christy, that Christy is. So we're going to be over there at 9:00 today. But it's supporting local business. Oh, the address. Emily just handed me the address. 924 West Main Street. 924 West Main Street. Used to be the old Medical Arts Building. Dr. Godfrey, right? It's been a while. Yeah, and yes, right behind there. That used to be the pharmacy where she's at now. She's done a beautiful job with it. It just made it beautiful inside. So 924 West Main Street, Forest City. So we're going to go there, Todd, for breakfast, and you and Karen are welcome to join us. It should be a staff meeting. Do we have a microphone cord long enough? We should just head on over there. Do we have a couple of wireless mics? Let's just head on over there and have breakfast because I'm getting hungry right about now. And she does mostly a Latin menu, huevos rancheros, and just eggs and tortillas, which I think is a great thing. So, but there's an example. You're supporting your local business. Emily talked to me about the farmers market.
Yeah, that's where I'm headed after we leave here. I'm going to go find some local honey at the farmer's market in Forest City.
Where is that? I haven't been there.
It's yeah, the pavilion. I guess they do call it Pop Square. There's like where you can list. They have concerts and stuff, and then it's right by. Is it?
Parking lot outside.
Yeah.
So they're just gonna all come and set up. What's the time on that? This is all unscripted, folks. We're just talking here.
Well, see, I was gonna go this morning before the program, but they don't open till 8. So
What
I
kind
have
of
to go after?
What kind of farmers are these? They're not going to get there till 8.
Well, I thought they opened at like 6, so I was like, I'll just run over there before the program, and then
Get their stuff together.
yeah.
Oh, they gotta get it
it's
together,
A major
okay.
Setup. They have like Aunt Wendy. She comes and brings all her homemade jams, like anything you can think of, kudzu, chili pepper, like all
Oh, you
kinds
told
of,
me about her. That's where you
Yeah.
get the honey from.
I get my veggies and stuff from her. There's several different honey vendors. We had White House Farms. I don't want to
No.
anybody, but
No, we're not showing any favoritism here, folks. We are talking about local business. Period. So if
you can get like fresh fish. They have meat there. If
the-
you're not a veggie person, there's still.
Toby beef.
Oh yeah.
well, we have a lot of good farmers around here. There's a lot of
Fresh
good
eggs,
farms.
fresh milk.
Let me say that there's a lot of good farms. There's a lot of good farmers that, because I know many, we do their tax returns, and they'll come to me for financial advice. They'll come to me for whatever, and so there's a lot of good ones. And I try to buy local whenever I can. And I became a real believer in the local farms and local farm product. So this is Gilbert Talks Farming today. In that, but this is all part of taxation because let me bring it back. Let me bring it back around. Let me say this first. I remember there was a young couple that had taken over their grandfather's farm in Landrum. Now they since sold that and moved because they wanted more land and they wanted to do certain things. But they were growing or producing, whatever. I don't know if farmers calling me now. You use the wrong words. They were growing. Oh, I get it, Emily. They were growing poulet rouge, which is French for red chicken. They were growing poulet rouge chickens. These are old heirloom genetics chickens, very regulated. And they were growing these heirloom, and I can't remember the name of those, but they were growing heirloom turkeys. And they were doing some old heirloom pigs. They just had an assortment, but they were really trying to get back to the old heirloom genetics and going and finding farmers that were still breeding this stuff. And I bought from them 2 poulet rouge chickens. And do you pay more? Yes, you pay more. This is where I became a believer because you pay more. And I know, I get it. It's tough when you have 2 children or 3 children. You got a family to feed, and you can get something at the farmer's market and it's $10, and you can go to a national chain, Walmart, and
Or Aldi.
or Aldi or any of these national chains, Ingles, whatever. You go there and you can get the same thing for $4. Okay, I get it. You add it all up, and it's a lot of money, especially with the price of food the way it's gotten. But I became a believer, so I bought these 2 poulet rouge chickens, and they were like $25 a piece. Yeah, my eyebrows did the same thing yours just did, Emily. I was like, what? This is like the filet mignon of poultry. So, but I wanted to support them, and they were really, so I got them, and I took them home, and I roasted them. And the taste was incredible, and it actually filled you up. Like, I remember eating a portion going, I'm full. The meat had a density to it, and it just had a flavor that was unbelievable. I mean, we got like 3 meals out of those, and I remember even making a casserole with the leftovers, and it still had that intense flavor. And then I had one of the turkeys, and again, it was like, I can't even remember how much it was, but I remember it was like shocking. I want to say it was like $50 or something like that, but we fed a lot of people with that turkey. So I became a real believer. The quality is there. Since I have bought from our local farmers, I've bought lamb chops, I've bought ground beef, I've bought ground lamb, I've bought lamb sausage that I made with these meatballs. It was unbelievable. Todd, we may just be heading on over for that breakfast sooner than we think, because I'm making myself hungry here. The same thing with the honey, the quality. There is a quality difference. The produce. It's good produce, but it supports, so let me bring it back around to taxes. You're supporting your local base. When you support your local base, you're supporting your local economy. Supporting your local economy is good for everybody in this community. And this is where it becomes a tightrope walk, because you say, well, I'm not going to support the national chains. But the national chains in your neighborhood do hire local people. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're bringing these workers in. Well, not yet. There is talk of this. In some of the bigger cities, you're seeing it because they can't find labor. They're bringing in these workers from other countries. But here at the local level, so yes, Dollar General is a national brand. I just picked them because I just thought of them. But they are hiring people here locally. And that was always one of the rubs that I had with Facebook. Everybody was all excited. And I took some heat for this. Not as much heat as I took for when I talked about Obamacare. We were talking about this earlier. But when Facebook came, and everybody's all excited because we're going to have a Facebook server farm. Okay, we have that already. And I said, no, that's not going to create any local jobs. These server farms are completely run by robotics. I mean, there are maybe, I don't know how many people work there, okay, because I don't know how big, but at the time I had heard that they were going to hire like 7 full-time people. That's 7 full-time people. And then they were going to have so many part-timers. And the part-timers were all in like janitorial jobs, like cleaning the place up, landscaping, and just the regular maintenance. And there was going to be local, they're going to hire local people, but it was only going to create like 6 full-time jobs. And 2 or 3 of those jobs were people that they brought in from another location that were already trained and had the experience. So it wasn't even like they hired 6 local people. They hired like 3 local people. And I said, I don't care if they're building a 1 million square foot facility. If you're only going to hire 6 people, and that's the thing with a manufacturing base. They say, oh, we're not a manufacturing economy anymore. Oh, I think they're finding out we are, and we really should have stayed. I mean, NAFTA was the worst thing we could have done, looking back. Yeah. I said it in 1996, but then I said it with Obamacare. Todd and I were talking about this earlier. When did Obamacare? That was in 2014. In 2014, when I first came on the air here, I said, this is the worst thing. It's going to drive up the cost of health care. And it will be, well, it is now, but it will take time. It will be a tax. That's all it's going to be. And you're getting nothing for nothing because it's going to jack the price up. People thinking we're getting nothing and it's not going to cost us nothing. No, it doesn't work that way. You're going to pay for it somewhere down the line. And we're paying for it now. Healthcare costs are through the roof. Try getting good quality insurance at a fair price. So, and people thought I was crazy when I said that. Called the station, told Jim. Gilbert doesn't know what he's talking about.
History speaks for itself.
Gilbert knew what he was talking about, and Gilbert was right. So I want to encourage people, support your local businesses. These economies do matter. These economies affect us and affect our daily lives. But again, there's judgment. It affects our tax base. It affects. I mean, what else, Emily? I can't. And then the small business. I've said this for years. Small business is the backbone of America. You pulled some stats for me because you've heard me talk about this. What do you have?
I was just looking up to see how many small businesses there were in North Carolina, and in the end of 2021, we were at 964,280 small businesses.
And that's after COVID. That's after the government got done destroying how many of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's just under a million.
Said in 2020 there was like a 15% increase in EIN. People starting up businesses.
Applying for EINs. I wonder how much of that was driven by PPP and driven by some of this other stuff. I mean, I don't know.
Perhaps they were saying that a lot of people were out of work and just wanted something to be able to make money and sustain themselves. But yeah, true. Some of it could have been just to be.
Well, I know that a lot of people got into the online because we see it. We're seeing it now. A lot of people got into online. Todd, you yourself have a couple of little side businesses, don't you? You're doing 3D printing, and are you still doing the T-shirts?
Yeah, I can.
You can?
In a while.
Yeah. See, so everybody's got like 2 or 3 businesses. How many? So North Carolina, 964,000, just under a million. And how many? What's the percentage? I've always said about half of all Americans work for a small business.
Yeah, it's like between 45 and 47%.
Really, I never did see a stat. I just felt that in my gut that was the number.
It says 45.1, but these numbers are a little old.
A little so according.
We're in 2022 now.
So yeah, we are in 2022, and probably more people are working for small business, and our federal government. This is how out of touch our federal government is. I've talked about this. I think I talked about this for like an hour one time. I was so outraged by this. They consider a small business. What dollar amount, Emily, would you think? So a business that makes annually, what dollar amount do you think the federal government considers a small? And I'm doing air quotes. For those of you watching me live streaming, I'm doing air quotes.
It's like some crazy millions of dollars, isn't it?
Yeah, $14.1 million a year. They consider anything less than $14 million a year to be small business. Well, in Washington, D.C., $14 million is like a tip. That to them, yeah, that's small business. That's how out of
pocket change.
Yeah, it's like, did you leave the waitress something? Yeah, for $2 million. Really? You're kind of cheap, aren't you?
You're doing small business wrong.
I'm doing yeah.
I know, right?
Exactly. I know small businesses that aren't even making $1 million a year that hire 4 or 5 people, and that's 4 or 5 people that are the primary income maker in that household. They're paying salaries of, I don't know, 45, 50, 35,000, whatever, somewhere in there. And to these families that are living on that, and they're making 200,000, 300,000 a year. They're making under $1 million. And so what would I classify as small business? Anybody making under $2 million. And those are inflated numbers, and I'm being generous. And we should have a category for that in government, but they don't.
The extra small business?
Extra small. The teeny tiny. We have tiny houses. The teeny tiny businesses. Are you in the teeny tiny category? And those are the people that need help. Those are the people that work. I was speaking to a man in corporate, and I was telling him the hours that we work, Emily, and what we do. And he looked at me and he goes, "You guys work on Saturdays?" I was like, "Yes." He's like, "You're there at your office after 5?" He's like, "What kind of sweatshop do you run?" I'm like, "Excuse me, sir. I take umbrage with that comment."
Umbrage. That's another good English word.
We are small. First thing, we're Americans. We're small business, and we're proud of it. And we do this because we want to, not because we have to. This is what we want to do. We want to build our community. We want to build our families. We want to build our businesses.
It's still people-based.
It is people-based. And he looked at me with this glazed-over rabbit in the spotlight look and did not understand what I was even talking about.
Well, if you lose the focus on the community, you kind of lose the whole point of...
What do you have left?
I mean, the grassroots of your business.
What do you have left? And a classic example of a business that's local in nature, and I got into this conversation with some real estate brokers the other day I was in on a Zoom call, And I said, real estate is local in nature. They were discussing how, one of the things that's happening is you're having real estate brokers out of Charlotte listing homes here in Rutherford County. And it's really just a bad idea because you're not servicing. These are local. People have local questions, about local things. What's happening? Is there a road project that's going to impact this neighborhood 5 years from now? Well, the guy from Charlotte wouldn't know that. And I said, I'm going to tell you this. We're going to take a break here too in a minute, Todd. I know you're anxious. So I told him, I said, I'm going to even tell you this. Real estate is hyper local. And I used this example. It just came to me, and somebody else later called me and reiterated. They said, you were spot on about that. And I said, thank you. But because it literally just came to me in the moment, I said, and I've used Lake Lure as the example, there are homes in Lake Lure on the lake. You could be a real estate agent to just represent those buyers and sellers that are on the lake or just off the lake and not know what is happening on top of the mountain. Because that is a whole other market with a whole other group of people with a whole other set of dynamics. And even in the realtors, with realtors, which, realtor is not a designate, a realtor is not a license. You're a licensed real estate broker in North Carolina, and you can join the Realtors Association. People forget it's an association, but the Realtors Association even has a designation for commercial, for land. There are people that actually spend a lot of time and money to get an extra certification to be a land expert, because it is a whole other thing. So to say, well, I'm a real estate broker in North Carolina, therefore I can sell, I can go down to the coast and sell real estate as well as sell real estate in the mountains. No, wrong, you can't. These are things that are very local in nature. So are these businesses, and so is supporting these businesses. We're way past our break. Todd, thank you for your patience. Let us go ahead and take that break. This is Gilbert and Emily Talk About Stuff. WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite.
Hi, I'm Sandra. My husband Peterson and I own Precision Detail and Tint. We invite you to come to our new location at 620 U.S. Highway 64, Rutherfordton, on the corner of Silvers Lake Road and Highway 64. Whether you need specialty detailing for your car, RV, or boat, or window tinting for your automobile, or home or business, we can help you. Voted Best of Rutherford County for 11 straight years, you will know you will get quality work at a good price. Stop by for an appointment or call 828-245-8889. We're open Monday through Friday 9 to 5 and Saturday 9 to 1.
I want to tell you about another great local business, Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949. Sean is a licensed general contractor. He can do your job from site development to completion. That's Forest City Concrete and Grading. Call Sean at 828-447-5949 and tell him Gilbert Talks Taxes sent you.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Those of you live streaming, there are two of us here in the blue room. And you wore a nice purpley.
I did.
We look great here in the blue room. I am wearing a vintage camel hair. With the tie's not vintage, the tie's new. But the camel hair. Here in the blue room, because I want to stand out. If I wear a blue suit, I blend in. I look like, I don't know, you can't tell who I am. Those of you live streaming, www.wcab59.com. David, I hope David's a big supporter of local business. I know you're listening in Asheville. We are here talking about it. So we do tax returns, Emily and I. It's hard to believe with what we've been talking about. We do tax returns. We are both enrolled agents, so we can talk about taxes. We are enrolled with the IRS. We prepare tax returns. I am a financial planner. If you want to make an appointment, if you want us to do your tax return, you can call us at 828-289-9300. We have two offices, one at 113 Whiteside Road here in Rutherfordton, the other one at 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon. We still do we are accepting new clients because that's the phone call I get. Are you taking new clients? Yes, we are. We're taking new clients. Now, we have a deadline, March 15th. And if you're a new client and you need a tax return filed by March 15th, the most we can do for you right now is to file an extension because there's just no way we can pull it together. We will file an extension. Now, when you file an extension, so you have till midnight, March 15th, to file an extension. We do it electronically, so it goes through. If you're going to do it yourself, you can paper file your extension. But I would just make sure to send that thing certified mail. Just because you want a proof that you got it in the mail March 15th. Take it to the post office and get that thing in the mail. We do it electronically, so we have till midnight to timestamp that thing and get it out. Now, that is an extension. That is a 6-month extension. So your partnership and your S Corp, your 1120S tax return must be done by September 15th. Now, the personal tax returns, this year, because of holidays and things, April 15th being Good Friday, they've extended it to April 18th. So you have till midnight of April 18th to do your personal tax returns. If you file an extension for those, you have till October 15th. Not-for-profits, or I don't like to say the word nonprofit because a lot of businesses are nonprofit. Not-for-profit is when you are nonprofit by design. You're a not-for-profit entity. You file your Form 990. Those are due May 15th. And we've gotten more and more of those. We've actually get a lot of those. An extension for those puts it into that November 15th date.
An extension to file
is not an extension to pay, Emily. If you think
you're going to owe,
go ahead.
Better put a payment in with that.
Yeah, put a payment in the mail with that. If you think you're going to owe, make a reasonable estimate. If you overpay, you'll get the money back. So some people.
But if you don't pay, you'll be with penalty and interest.
There'll be there'll be penalty. There will be failure to pay estimated tax penalty. There isn't any interest on that till after the deadline. Then that interest, that's that failure to pay interest, that really kicks in. But the penalty, there's actually multiple penalties that can kick in on that. And I just hate giving them a penny more than I have to. So, because I've had some people say, oh, well, the penalty's not that big. I'm like, any penalty's a penalty. I'm sorry, but I don't want to give them. My whole career has been built on figuring out a way to not give them more money than, what's the bill payer rights say? Your fair amount.
Yes. No more than the correct amount of tax.
Yeah, this is the Bill of Rights, IRS Bill of Rights. You have the right to pay no more than the correct amount of tax, which I still think that's too high. But that's my personal opinion. No, we don't want to give them any more money. So you make a reasonable estimate. Again, some people just say, well, let's just get it done and we'll do it. And we'll just pay that amount at the time. But you can send them a little bit. Then there's a few other deadlines. Those of you that are an LLC or an Inc., you do have the Secretary of State. Remember, you have to file your annual report there. Incs are $20, LLCs are $200. That's your annual filing, and you have your Department of Revenue annual fee, which is $200 there. But that one we take care of in the tax return. The other one, the Secretary of State, you have to go to their website. Don't forget. Now, that deadline, that's a strange one because people always ask me, what's that deadline? The deadline for the Secretary of State is April 15th. But they give you an automatic extension, but it's kind of an open-ended thing. In other words, they don't notify you. You'll just get a revocation notice and you've been revoked. And those start showing up in your email around October. So they say you have to do it by October 15th. So they say April 15th is actually a soft deadline. I don't fool around with it. If I'm your registered agent for the Secretary of State, you're already getting emails from me in December telling you this is due, and I'm actually weighing out next year, thinking about just going ahead and automatically renewing all those, because we really have quite a few now. And it's a lot of them. And again, revocation, it costs money to reinstate you, and it can have major legal consequences. You don't want to let that thing lapse. Okay? So, again, Gilbert Talks Taxes. I want a couple of local businesses talking about local businesses. She's advertising now, from what I understand. Jim told me Brock Family Care. Ann Brock. Yep, over in Shiloh at 289 Shiloh Road, Forest City. She's doing the monthly pay plan where you join $75 a month and it includes 2 free labs. I actually joined and I had my free lab and my blood work came back great. Ann was so excited. She even texted me. She said, "Your blood work looks great." So I thought the price was great. $75, unlimited visits. I think she's really onto something, and she's just a super, super good at what she does. Brock Family Care and Brock. The telephone number, 828-382-7282 in Shiloh. Give Ann a call over there and get your physical. Todd, when's the last time you had your physical, Todd? Did you really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm so proud of you. That's great. Everybody needs to get one. I'm so glad I had mine. It was fantastic. Well, when it's good news, it's all fantastic, right?
Right.
You're shouting it from the mountaintop when it's good news. When it's bad news, it's like, oh yeah, that. I am going to talk about Schedule C and Schedule E here in a minute at some point. So what is Schedule C? If you're not an 1120S and you're not a partnership, okay, and you don't have your tax return due Tuesday by midnight or an extension, most likely your business is you're a sole proprietorship, or you could be an LLC filing a tax return as a sole proprietorship. Now, there's a special rule for husband and wife partnerships. A husband and wife that are both equal owners in a business can actually file Schedule C on their tax return and put down that they're joint owners. And it's the only time the IRS lets a partnership file on the 1040 on the Schedule C. Why is this a big deal? I've run into, and when I became aware of this many years ago, I immediately, if people would come in and it was a husband and wife running a business, I would get their past tax returns and look at this. This is how this scenario usually pans out. Husband and wife start a business, and on the tax return, it always is the husband's business. Most of the time, this is the scenario I found. So the self-employment tax part of the money that you pay goes to credit whose account?
The husband.
The husband's account. Okay? So I came across wives, and I've yet to have this happen with the husband. It's always been the wife, just because that was the way it was done. You know, the primary was always the husband, the secondary was always the wife, and there's really no rule that says it has to be that way. Mm-hmm. The wife can be the primary, but it's just the way it's been, and it's the way we do it. So the husband and wife, the primary gets it, so the business gets allocated to the husband, and then he gets all the credit for it on Social Security. So, and what happened the first time is, how I became aware of this, is a wife said to me, "I just got my Social Security statement, and it says I haven't paid any money into Social Security." she said, I want to start collecting Social Security here in whatever. She was planning a little bit ahead. It was like in 10, 15 years. She was looking to retire, wanted to know how much money she'd be getting, which is good advice, by the way. Everybody should do this. And you don't have to be like retirement around the corner. Even if you're in your 40s, even if you're in your late 30s, you can get your Social Security statement. You can go to ssa.gov. They used to mail these, and young people would just throw them out, and people wouldn't pay attention to it. But the older you got, the more important that little statement became. So they would mail it. Now they're not mailing it anymore. Now you have to go online, you have to create an account, and you have to pull your statement. And that statement has a lot of information. It tells you if you retire at age 62, at your full retirement age, whatever that is. For most people now, it's going to be 67. There's a lot of people where it's still somewhere between 65 and 67, or if you wait till 70. So it gives you all that information. So she had gotten hers, and she came to me in kind of a panic and said, it says here that I have not paid into my Social Security. She said, but we've had this business for 20-something years, 30-something years. And I said, yeah, you didn't. Your husband got all the credit when she pulled it, when, together they pulled his statement. He was just fine, going to get a nice Social Security payment. And I said, this is the problem. You never paid in. So I immediately changed them, immediately put it on Schedule C as a joint husband and wife business. So she started building up her Social Security funds. Social Security, you have to pay into it 10 years. Actually, it's 40 quarters, 40 quarters. It doesn't have to be consecutive, and it can be totally broken up, but you have to pay into it at 40 quarters just to get the minimum. And then, of course, it depends on how much money you made. It's kind of a strange formula they use. It's not a simple formula. It takes the highest paying 10 years, and then it prorates it down with these point breaks in between, and it's complicated math. But the point of the story is we want to make sure you're going to have some money in retirement. So husband and wives can do that, and you may want to look at that and see if you, in fact, have done that. The other alternative, which we discussed, and I've discussed on the radio a lot, is to put the spouse on payroll. When you're a Schedule C filer, technically you yourself, the sole proprietor, you're not supposed to pay yourself payroll, W-2 payroll. I know people do. You're not going to get in trouble for doing it, but it's not the recommended way of doing it. You are actually the sole proprietor. All the money's technically yours. You're supposed to do estimated tax payments, and that's a whole other method. But you can put the wife on payroll, make her a W-2 employee, and while you're at it, let's get the children on there. And I talked about that last week. You can set up IRAs for the children. You can put them on a W-2, keep them below standard deduction. They will have no income tax to pay. There's a lot of tax advantages to doing that. We're past our break, Todd. It is 8:49. Let's go ahead and take our last break. This is WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
People come up to me and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return, and thank you for getting me that big refund. Do you have any ideas what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I do. Take that refund right over to NC Tractor and Farm Supply, talk to Phil, get you a brand new shiny red Massey Ferguson. That's NC Tractor and Farm Supply, Railroad Avenue. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. By the way, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. I'm hoping he'll give me a discount when I go buy my brand new shiny Massey Ferguson tractor. As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
This is Christy Carmona, and tax season is here. Gilbert and I prepare all tax return forms. Personal 1040s, corporate 1120s, 1120Ss, partnerships, estates, trusts, and not-for-profit returns. From the simplest returns to the most complicated returns, we are committed to quality, secure, and personalized service. We have 2 locations, one in Rutherford and one in Tryon. So call us today at 828-289-9300 to make your appointment. And new for this year, We have, with every 1040 personal tax return, it includes at no extra cost $1 million of tax audit defense and ID protection. So call us today at 828-289-9300.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590 FM
100.9.
Thank you, Emily, my newest enrolled agent. Actually, the only other enrolled agent in our office. We are enrolled agents. We do tax returns. I do financial planning. We help business people. I totally lost my train of thought. My train of thought is gone after what you just showed me. We should just leave the mics on and not take a break. But we really should, because that is, we just talk about taxes straight through. Let me get back to, yes.
Yeah, back to what you were talking about.
Back to what I was talking about. The taxation of bonds. I never did finish that. Hard to believe I got on a rabbit trail. Series E and E savings bonds, and I'm bringing this up because we've had several things where people have sold them, and they've been coming in with the 1099 from selling them. So, a couple of things about these bonds. They were very popular back in the 90s, and they still are very popular. People will buy them. I know people that have their refunds. You can actually, that's one of your refund options. And I'm not telling people to do this, okay? I'm just talking about them. Yeah. I don't advocate any type of investment unless I've had a meeting with you, and then I give you my opinion and I'm not shy about my opinions. I give you my opinion after we have that meeting, and I discuss. I want to know all about you, what you want to do, what you're going to do in retirement, how much money you're going to need. After that, then do I make recommendations. But right now I'm talking about the tax implications of double E and E savings bonds. A couple of things that happen with them is, so you buy them, they're 30-year maturity. You can trade them in anytime before that maturity, or you can trade them in at any time. Once they mature, though, they mature. That's it. They're done. They hit their maturity amount, and that's it. Now, you trade them in any time, and you're going to get whatever amount of money you're going to get based on the interest that it's earned. Okay? There's a fixed period of interest where there's a guaranteed interest rate, and then there's variable periods of interest rate. And those of you that know, in the early 2000s, there was a lot of volatility with interest rates and just a lot. So that number could be anything. There is a website that you can actually go to called treasurydirect.gov, and they've got all kinds of tools for calculating how much your bond is worth. And they actually you can save it onto the website by serial number, and you can track your bonds. It doesn't seem, I've never found a person that has just like one or two. Either they don't do it at all, or they have many of them where it becomes like an investment option. That's what seems. This is what I've noticed. There's people that really like them. It is. I mean, it's as good as anything to invest in. It's backed by the government, and it's secure. You're going to get that money. The question is, what's that money going to be worth in 20 years, as we're seeing with double-digit inflation? Okay, but that's another topic. So when you trade these bonds in, that interest is taxable. You will get a 1099. You have to bring it to Gilbert or Emily, and we will put it on your tax return. Now, it is taxed at ordinary income rate. The interest is taxed at ordinary income rate. So if you're in a 10% tax bracket, it's 10%. If you're in a 22% tax bracket, whatever your rate is, okay? But where it gets a little tricky is a lot of the people bought bonds with other people's names on them, or co-owners. So as a husband and wife, or maybe as a gift to a child, or whatever, infinite numbers. So if you're the only owner of the bond, pretty simple, you owe the tax. If you use the money to buy a bond that you put in your name with a co-owner, you're responsible. If you're the one that bought it, your name's on it, but there's a co-owner, you're responsible. You buy the bond and put someone else's name on it as the only owner, okay? Because there's like 5 main options. So you buy the bond and put someone else's name on it as the only owner. The person who is named as the owner pays the tax, not you. And this is where there's been a little confusion. you and another person buy a bond together. And this can be any random person. So Todd, if you want to buy a bond, you can feel free to put my name on it. You buy it together. Now, each putting in a part of the money to buy the bond, and you are both named as co-owners. Okay, you and the other person must each report the interest in proportion to how much you put in. So we buy a $500 bond. If you $250 to buy it, I put in $200, you put in $50. I'm responsible for $200 worth of the interest. You're responsible for $50 worth of the interest, however that prorates out. Okay, you and your spouse. Now, community property state, I'm not going to get into it. North Carolina is not a community property state. There's only, there's 12 total, 10 of them, and they have their own crazy rules. Here in North Carolina, we're not, but community property states have their own rules. Just know that. If you buy the bond, you basically, with a bond, you each have a half interest. Now, with a bond, you can also do what's called reissuing, and you can place different people on it. Just know that all these rules have an implication on the interest. And it doesn't seem like a big deal when you're talking about one bond, but like I said, many people I deal with buy many bonds. They have tens of thousands of dollars of face value in bonds. So the interest can add up. It could be $5,000 of interest that you got to pay tax on. So the number becomes pretty big pretty fast. Another option that people don't know about is you can pay the interest, the tax on the interest every year. You can pay it, and that way when you finally cash it in, you will owe no tax, or you will owe tax on that, that year, the little bit, whatever, if you sold it in half the year. And that is an option for people that have. Now, that is a lot to keep up with, and I've only ever run into one person that's done it, but they had a lot of them, and for them it was very worth doing that. But that is an option, so just be aware of that. Okay, we are quickly running out of time. See, Emily, this is what happens. We start talking about stuff.
We have nothing to talk about.
We have
run out of time.
We have nothing to talk about, and I ran out of time. Okay, Schedule C, Schedule E, Schedule F filers. I'm going to get into this next week. There are some tax strategies we can do. Just because you have rental property doesn't mean you have to file it on Schedule E. Just because you're a farmer doing things that are categorized as farm activities, it doesn't mean you have to put it on Schedule F. You actually do have options, and different schedules have different tax benefits. So it's just knowing those options and discussing them. And I'll say up front, most of the time it's pretty straightforward. Schedule C, Schedule E, Schedule F. But there are some situations when it's worth taking a look at it. Shelley's address again. So we are going to leave here. I have 1 minute left. We will be back next week. I am going to get into this topic a little deeper next week. I'm going to talk about the IRAs for kids again, because that topic seems to be coming up a lot. People are asking. We're going to leave here and go over to Shelley's Grocery and Bakery and have breakfast there, have a Latino breakfast this morning at 924 West Main Street, Forest City, another good local business you should support, Shelley's. And we're going to be there. I don't know how long I'm going to be there for, but the whole staff's going to be there. Are you going to be able to come over? You might pop in. Todd, you might pop in? Yeah, bring the long corded microphone, and we'll go ahead and just keep broadcasting from there. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If you need us, call us, 828-289-9300. Send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com, and I will be back next Saturday. Todd's giving me the little running finger. 10 seconds. Thank you, everyone.
Get your message